Clifford Trio will make it worth being here for every note they play. I'm Fred Wooden. I'm the preacher in this house. And my colleague, Christopher Rowe, will be joining me along with one of our members and ministers at large, Ginny Makita. And we will be taking part in our annual ritual of gratitude for all creation. But I wanted to remind you that there is a whole lot of stuff going on in the social hall that's already there and will be there following this service. Please avail yourself of the creatures that are visiting with us there. Shout out to all of you who are there. We're really glad to have you in our extended congregation. To all the people who can hear and see us but aren't in this room, whether they are in the social hall or upstairs or watching us on YouTube now and later in the week, this is a unique experience to Fountain Street Church, created over a generation ago to honor Earth Day and to honor our relationship to non-human life. So I hope you'll enjoy it. This one will take a little longer than usual because our blessing of the animals is individualized. So you can wait around until the very end, or you can leave whenever you need to. If your animal needs water, it's outside in the narthex. If your animal needs to leave water, help them outside if you can. And we'll be there to help you clean up because we are welcoming all living things as part of our community today. So with that in mind, and reminding you that this Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month, May Day, and you can join us as we stand up for the movement for Black Lives at Rosa Parks Circle at 12:15. Come and join fellow Fountain Streeters and others. And then next week, the Reverend and Professor Randall Jelks, Professor of African American History and scholar of our city, will be in this pulpit to inform us and inspire us. So make a point of being here through every Sunday in May. They're all different and wonderful. So guys, down in front, Ed and Buds, are you ready to play? Warm our heart a little bit, would you, as we begin our hour of worship. So, can you guys be here like every week? I wish I could afford you every week. Top-notch music this morning, top-notch company, that would be you. And as we move into our formal elements of worship, some words that were long ago attributed to a fellow named Chief Seattle. It turns out that was inaccurate, but the words are still worth knowing. This we know, the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood that unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are just a strand in it. But whatever we do to the web, we're doing to ourselves. With those words of wisdom to remind us and to chide us, we now make this an hour of worship by uniting our voices in song with a familiar hymn. Morning has broken, number 38 in your hymn book. Marky Dirks Peterson, make us sing loudly, would you?
Thank you. You may be seated. And as you seat, will you please join me in the responsive invocation which can be found in your bulletin? At the break of the morning, the dawn of a new day, when the light of the sun touches the horizon and the darkness lifts to make way, surrounded by air sweet with spring, we take up breath within us and sing psalms of praise. And we give thanks for the gift of breath. At the zenith of the day, when the greening of life and warming skies abound, we give thanks for the gift of abundant life. And in this song, our souls rise and pay homage.
Everybody, how you doing? I am so glad you're here. In some ways, this is my favorite Sunday of the year, and I'll explain why in a little bit. My name's Fred Wooden. I'm one of the two official clergy. That would be Christopher, my colleague, Minister of Spiritual Life and Learning. And together we stand amidst a very large cloud of ministers, ordained and some volunteer, I want to lift up our member and minister of the day, Ginny Makita, who will be sharing in this. She is an advocate for animal rights out there in the big world. So your ministry is not in this building, it's beyond it, but we're glad to bring it inside today. Some of our animal friends were in the chapel service earlier today, an intimate group of about 30 dogs and their friends. It was a vigorous experience, what can I say? But you've brought dogs and cats and other fine things, and we have all these beautiful plants here. Chris, is this one that lives in your office? All of these. Yeah, if you go to Chris's office sometime, you might find him there if you can push away the plant life. It's kind of misty in there on a warm day. But this is what we do on the Sunday closest to Earth Day, which this year was Easter, but this year, so we moved it back. We honor something we call Reverence for Life Sunday because it refers back to Albert Schweitzer's journey of the Spirit, in which, as he grew outside of Orthodox Christianity, looked for something that he could worship. And there on the great river, the Congo River, and perhaps one of those great African rivers, he found himself surrounded by the river and the fish and all the life around it, and realized he was feeling reverence toward all of life itself. And so that's the spirit we invoke today in all of life's forms. So we want you to stick around. At the end of the service, we don't just end the service. You who brought creatures who wish to have them blessed formally, if you can go up to the back and around and come down the side aisles and in, that would be really a plus, so that people who don't have animals can watch or go as they wish. Okay, just remember that. And we will bless every animal that's in the place, including humans, if you wish that to be true. And we've blessed stuffed animals too, by the way. They have the spirit, so feel free. But we want to let you know that we're here for everyone. So gather your hearts a little bit, and we're going to be especially blessed because Ed Clifford and Bill Vitz and a man whose name I'm forgetting right away, Mr. Keyboard Artist, John Prue, are going to add life to us with their music this morning before we move into the ritual of gratitude. Glad to have you here.
Today, we remember that ancient tale of creation from the book of Genesis. At the beginning of the creation was the heavens and was the earth. When the earth was wild and waste, darkness over the face of the earth. A rushing spirit wind hovered over the face of the deep, and the divine that speaks in every generation said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And the Creator saw all of this and said, "This is good."
We are grateful for the lens by which we see and perceive ourselves and the world.
And the divine that speaks in every generation said, "Let the waters of the earth come together in one place, and let there be a dome that holds back all of the waters above earth." And so it was that the immense oceans were formed and the great lakes. And the Creator saw all of this and said, "This is good."
Grateful for the water which nourishes all life.
Then the Creator looked upon the dry land that had been formed. It was the soil from which all plants grow. The divine named that dry land earth and declared that it was also good.
We are grateful for soil in which all plants and trees are rooted.
And the divine that speaks in every generation said, "Let growing things come forth from this soil. Let there be plants with their own kinds of seeds. Let there be peas and beans, corn and cabbage." And so plants grew, each with their own seed. And the Creator saw all of this and said, "This is good."
We are grateful for the plants which are our food and food for all living things.
And the divine speaks in every generation, saying, "Let there be flowers of all kinds to brighten the earth." And so it was that colorful flowers, pink and purple flowers, flowers that delight the eye and gladden the heart, came forth. And the Creator saw all of this and said, This is good."
We are grateful for flowers which brighten our day.
And the divine spoke and said, "Let trees be rooted in the soil." And so it was that trees of all kinds took root in the soil. Trees with delicious fruits to eat, trees with other kinds of trees amongst their communities, maple and mahogany, cedar and cypress, oak and aspen. And the Creator saw all of this and declared, This is also good."
We are grateful for trees, the largest of plants, which provide the oxygen for our next breath and for all living things.
And the divine speaks in every generation, saying, "Let the waters bring forth life with living creatures of all kinds." And so it was that the sea creatures of all kinds also came into being, from the great whales to the tiny minnows, every kind of creature that lives in the water. And the Creator saw all of this and said, "This is good."
We are grateful for the creatures that live in the water.
And the divine heart continues to speak, saying, "Let birds fly in the heavens." And so it was that creatures with wings appeared, from the great hawks to the tiny hummingbirds. Every kind of creature that flies in the air, the Creator looked at them and said, "This is good.
We are grateful for creatures that fly in the air and give us the courage to reach to the sky.
And the divine heart speaks, saying, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures." This was when wild beasts appeared, and snakes that crawl on the ground, and mice, and rabbits, and deers, and dogs, cows, and cats. All the animals that live on the earth, they were all good.
We are grateful for animals who are our closest kin, including this cat who is confusingly named Bear.
And the divine heart speaks, saying, "Let us make creatures in our own image and in our own likeness to watch over and protect everything we have made." And so human beings were created in the image and likeness of the creators that made them, male, female, and in every gender.
We are grateful for the gift of human life, especially those that emerge amidst us and this community.
And the divine blessed the human creatures with the ability to choose and create and to destroy, and charged them to take care of the whole creation, everything before you. And the Creator saw all that had been created, and the divine Spirit was with and in and among all that was created. The Creator saw all of this and said, "This was indeed good."
Amen and amen. It feels funny to be hanging around with this big old robe on with all these creatures have no clothes at all. I guess that's because they're pretty without help. But it's also difficult to talk about prayer because these animals that we see, these other living things, they don't do that, at least so far as we know. I guess maybe we have got it wrong. Maybe prayer isn't what we say, maybe it's how we live. I've more than once told the story about how Rabbi Abraham Heschel, who joined the other clergy with Dr. King to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, observed that as he was crossing the bridge, arm in arm with Christians and other Jews, blacks and whites, he said to a neighbor walking with him, "Hey, look, I'm praying with my legs." I think our creature friends, animal, vegetable, or mineral, are good teachers of prayer. I think Wendell Berry talked about how when despair grows in him, he goes out and lies down among the wild things who do not tax themselves with forethought of grief. So pick an object that's up here, the light, the water, the soil, the flowers, the fruit, the tree, the fish, the bird, and the cat, which decided to hide. And let that be your spirit animal or your spirit guide for the next few seconds. Pick one. How would that thing pray? Be most present, most alive, because it is alive. However the language would be, follow them in prayer as we stand and sit and wait silently for their voices to be heard. And that truly is the only prayer we have today. Shall we be silent together? Did you hear their voice? If not, spend some time without humans around. They're talking if you know how to listen. This is a moment when we pause for our offering, which is the part where, you get your pocket out and you say, oh, geez, how much money am I going to give? It says in the order of service that our offering this week, as it does it every week, serves to benefit the communities around us, because this is our act of offering as a community to the wider community. Because we humans have done so much to the earth, now we have to take responsibility for it, especially those creatures whose habitats, whose well-being, whose safety now depends on us. This is called being a grown-up, taking responsibility for what we've done. So I invite you now to take responsibility for the way we have treated the earth and its fellow inhabitants, and give generously to our offering, which will go to the benefit of those organizations that serve our non-human friends. That offering will now be received. Thank you, Margie. And thank you for your offering. Does anyone here know the town of Ypres? Y-P-R-E-S. It's in Belgium. And they have an event called the Kattenstoot. That means Cat Festival. It involves a parade, people dressing up as cats, and the hurling of stuffed cat toys from the top of the town tower to children and others down below. It's a lot of fun. People enjoy it. It's quite the tourist attraction. But this merry festival has a grim origin. Back in the 11th century, an excess of cats led them to hurling actual cats from the tower to kill them. No one knows exactly why. They just started doing it. It became an annual event that lasted, well, the last time they threw real cats off of the tower was 1817. The last one survived and ran off and never was seen again. There are conflicting stories about how it happened, but they all go back to a time when people in general thought animals did not have feelings. And I mean sensations as well as emotions. They called them automatons. They were like machines. They thought they could not feel pain or fear. They just were kind of flesh machines. This applied to all animals, not just cats. But minds were changing even in 1817. In 1866, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals was formed, organized by people who recognized that animal suffering was real. Of course, they were a minority, but they were the first organization. And even today, we have people who believe that different people who look different are different species. If you've ever read about the people who commit the crime we saw yesterday in Poway, California, these are folks who honestly and earnestly and horribly believe that white people are a separate race from black people and that black people are not quite as human, if at all. So when we are asking ourselves whether animals actually have feelings, we should probably be asking if humans actually have feelings. I don't have to tell you, of course, that animals have feelings. If you're here with your animal, you feel very strongly about it, and you think it feels pretty strongly about you. Now, most of the time, when I ask a person about the creature they have in their company, I don't ask what is its name. I say, what name do you call it? Because I'm quite sure the animal didn't tell you the name that you use. It's a convenience that we have to subscribe to because we use English. But if you have an animal companion, you know it has feelings. Anyone with a dog ever seen it shiver during a thunderstorm? That's fear. Any cat owner knows seduction when it comes up and inveigles you with its jaw and its tail to make you feed it or let it out. In fact, my mother told a story about a cat they owned before we were born that would leave the house every afternoon around 4:30, and my father would find it waiting for him at the bus stop when he got off. We also had one, I remember, who years later defended his sister vigorously against pregnancy and failed. And when he discovered her nursing kittens one afternoon, left our house and never came back again. Tell me that cat did not feel something. Research, in fact, is telling us animals actually have emotions. They have memories, and dogs, for example, can learn up to 200 words that they could recognize and put to use. And any of you with assistance animals know they are able not only to be trained, but to have a sense of caring. Animals feel lonely if all you have to do is come home to an eager dog. They grieve. They rejoice. They can even feel ashamed. Perhaps not in the same complicated way you and I do, but the elementary emotions are there. They know, they feel, and they remember. I learned some years ago that a pig is as smart as a dog, and I suddenly wondered why I ate pigs and didn't eat dogs. And then I decided if I wouldn't eat one, I couldn't eat the other. There is no good reason, ultimately, for us to like some animals and not like others. I think we all have to face that reality that we are as arbitrary in the way we treat animals as some people are arbitrary in the way they treat people. I guess I'm asking whether we need to do more than like the animals we know. Just as we cannot justify caring for white people more than black people, Christians more than Jews, straights more than gays, Americans more than Central Americans, we really cannot care more about dogs and cats than we do about pigs and cows and chickens. In other words, we cannot morally love our animals and see others as automatons. Have you ever noticed that when people are out with their animal companions, they seem to be happier people? As wild and woolly as this Sunday is, and right now there are at least 4 dozen, if not more, animals in this room, no one is acting badly at all. We used to describe misbehaving people as acting like animals. I think it's exactly the opposite. Animals make us better at being human. What if we jumped up and down and wagged our hips when someone came home? Wouldn't that person be happier? What if we purred and coiled around those we loved a little more frequently? How long has it been since you thanked someone for feeding and protecting you? I think we should be more like animals on a day-to-day basis. That means you should nap when you're tired. You should eat when you're hungry. You should play when you're happy. Be more present in the moment and less in the future. Be more about who you are right now and not about the lists and the tasks and the goals. Animals are really good teachers if we let them. Think of it as the original version of that book, but this one is called Eat, Play, Sleep. What else is there to do? Aspire to be more like them. Admire them for their better humanity, as it were. Let's be more impressed with animals than with the rich and the famous. Let's forget how we love to watch a great athlete and just enjoy how the cat makes it up the stairs and back so quickly. No reason to be a rock star when our dog is willing to dance so merrily. We should stretch like cats and sniff like dogs and take our time like turtles and bask in the sun like a snake and dance like a bird on a perch. In the end, they are our genuine role models, don't you think? I suspect that if we were more like them, we would be a lot more human than we are. Blessings be upon all the non-human creatures here today, but if we are really honest, we will admit that we're here for their blessing because they are making us better every day. And so we thank them for enduring us and for helping us become better people. May these words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be found true in thy sight. Thou who art my rock and my redeemer, thou who art present in every breath. Amen and amen. Is it time to bless the animals? It's time to sing. Margie, are you going to give us the singing part now? We're going to sing a song I don't think we have sung very often here. What's the number? 125, is it? I don't bring the thing up in the 170. I knew it was a round number like that. And here's what happens, because after this, we will have the blessing of the animals. So if you have an animal that you would like blessed, please go to the side aisles and come down from the sides and come inward. And then those here will go up that aisle. And those who come down this aisle will go up that aisle. And the wonderful musicians will be animals right here, making wonderful animal music. And if you do not have an animal and you don't wish to be blessed, you can listen to the music, all of it. You can go out into the narthex if you'd rather. But we're going to be here a little while after the song. So let's sing together. And while you do that, you can kind of sort out, okay? Margie, can you help us do that? Amen and amen. All right, guys. Pump it up. Okay, folks, go over to that aisle or that aisle and come down. And the rest of you, sit, listen, go, and come. We are here until all the animals have been loved and blessed. Hi. Oh, bring the whole carrier. Feel free to bring the carrier. Feel free to bring the whole carrier. Hi, come on. Who do we have here? Okay.
No problem. I'm just trying to sneak along.